Welcome to the Thriving Artist Podcast, where we share strategies and support for artists to thrive.
We know that the art world can feel like a lonely place, and we want to provide a network of support, impactful strategies, and an abundance of encouragement to help you grow your authentic art career.
We're your hosts. I'm Jamie Smith.
And I'm Kaylin Butine, and we are also the co-founders of the Thrive Together Network, a community of female and non-binary identifying artists and artists who are caregivers.
We truly believe in community over competition, and we're so glad you're here. Enjoy this episode.
Hello, welcome back to the Thriving Artist Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Kaylin Butine.
And I'm your second host, Jamie Smith. And today we are discussing 5 must-dos as a working artist. So this episode, we're hoping to be practical, hands-on, and packed with tips for you out there listening that want to know, what must I do? Feels like there's always stuff to do. Kaylin, do you want to start us off?
Yes. So our first must do is to always keep learning, whether it's taking a new art class, attending workshops, just experimenting, having fun in your studio, learning new things. We really believe that continual learning and sort of cultivating this skill of becoming a lifelong learner as an artist is top of the list, like a must do. It can be hard to make time for this when you kind of develop your voice and you get busy and you got to like churn things out for shows or clients or whatever. But we just feel like learning is kind of what probably drew most of us to art, like that idea of discovery and exploration and experimentation. And I think keeping learning and creativity kind of involved in your process and in your studio practice actually helps combat burnout. So we really feel like it's a big must do for artists.
Well, and I feel like for me, I worked so hard to like figure out my style, and kind of that was a time I found it a painful time of pushing and not feeling like I had found my voice. And then you find it, and then it's hard to want to stray out of it because time is so precious. And so I do think it's so amazing to, take a class, or I love Skillshare for finding, new techniques that you can do, because it's easy to kind of get stuck in your own way kind of thing.
Yes.
So yeah, I think this is so important. It's also why we do the virtual art residency at Thrive Together Network, I think, because that is a time where we encourage people, set a goal and over 4 weeks, try something. And we see interesting work come out of that.
Totally.
And our second must do for a working artist is networking. So this is something that often we hear, as we say, it's not a sexy topic
Not so
for
sexy.
artists. Most artists want nothing to do with it because it's just putting ourselves out there. And where do we start? What does that look like? Well, it's why Kaylin and I started as artists, a community for artists, because we do believe that artists can be a huge way of networking. I've had opportunities come from other artists. I've definitely felt supported in that way. So get out there, whether that's joining an artist community. It could be joining, going to art openings, and there's sometimes galleries that will have sort of like collectors clubs, there's things locally, but then also now we have the world of online. So really it's about saying who you are and stepping forward powerfully, and creating what we call your artist ecosystem is really important, because we just can't do it alone.
No, we can't do it alone. And I think taking it a step further, like a must-do related to networking is just like having diverse ways of networking. You shared many ideas there, Jamie, but just making sure you're plugged in many different ways. And building out my network is something I've been really trying to do in Fort Wayne in Indiana since I only moved here a few years ago.
That was one of your priorities. So
yes.
I loved seeing that, because I think networking can feel very a nice word, or just, I'm in a network, and what does that mean? But you actually made it a goal for your year,
No, it was like a task, like a to-do.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And actually, I know I told you recently that I feel like that is a task that I can take off my list, because those the network that surrounds you, like you have to put in the groundwork, but then it kind of just exists and it comes naturally. And those channels of encouragement and, investment in you and that you get to give to other people are just kind of built in. But if you don't have that network, you need to do the work of building it. That's a
Well, and
big
I've
must do.
kind of been able to witness your how you started to where you like I've been around in your life seeing you in this process, and it's so amazing now to see how not like effortless, because of course it's still work, but you are now just plugged in. So
Yes.
you're going to things, doing things. So that's the thing I would really say is that it may at the beginning it's like turning a wheel. Like it's hard to get that crank going, but then once you're doing it and it's like a muscle you've built, it starts to move. And
Absolutely.
yeah, it's been awesome to watch. So well done, Kaylin.
Well, thank you.
What is our
Okay.
third tip?
Now that I'm blushing, let
I
me
know.
move us on. Our third must do for working artists is manage your time effectively.
Ugh.
So another not very sexy thing,
We tricked
but
you all, but now you're
yes.
listening, so you have to.
Managing your time is like absolutely a must do. Like all of the professional artists that I know, they know how to manage their time. They know how to prioritize what they're working on. They know how to set realistic goals. They know how to carve out time for their art. And to focus on quality, not quantity. And I think, this is something that our network provides. It is this idea of like managing your time, because when you're plugged into our artist network at the Thrive Together network, you get these like literal built-in times where you get to say, okay, what am I working on? What's my next thing? We meet every week on Zoom and we come and we assess and we say like, what is my task for this week? And you share about it with other artists. So actually those must-dos of networking and managing your time effectively, if you join us on the Thrive Together network, you kind of get both of those built in.
Well, and we've been thinking a lot about why we do what we do. So we have a lot of things happening always on the network, and Kaylin and I are really conscious of saying, why do we do this thing? And it's like,
Right.
oh, because artists need this. I know that I didn't have this before having this network and this community. So I think we built everything around trying to help with this networking and planning that can feel it's hard to really feel excited about that when you have work you want to make, but we have to get it out in the world. And so we need both. So yeah.
Yeah, we've done the unsexy work for you. So
yeah,
all
we're
you have to
unsexy,
do,
guys. We
all,
don't mind.
all you have to do is plug in. I think our unsexy work makes us sexy, Jamie.
Oh yeah. Let's just
Right?
say we're doing it in a very sexy way.
Yes.
Yeah, we're doing this
There
work.
we go.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Speaking of another topic that we talk a lot about too, Kayla and I, is the fourth must do as a working artist is to take care of your mental health. And that is something that, it's again a buzzword, I think. And I say that lovingly because I think it is such a priority. And I know for me, one of those main things is moving our bodies and doing exercise. And when I am taking care of myself, I feel it in my bones. And when I'm not, I also feel it in my bones. And let's just say this month I've eaten a lot of cheese, and cheese does not help me in this time. And it just, as a creative person, I think we get stuck. I get stuck in my head a lot because I'm coming up with ideas and I'm thinking all the time about it. But we actually have to produce things through our body and through feeling good and showing up. And so we need to make sure that we're taking care of it.
Yeah, I think, not unsimilar to other careers, but artists, maybe more than anybody, it's like you really need your emotional health, your physical health to kind of all, be fine-tuned and ready to go, because it affects your work so much, and so I just think prioritizing your mental health and your physical health is really a must-do for artists. Our fifth and final must-do is to enjoy the process. We get to make art. Like, what an amazing thing. We get to show up in our studios and like tinker around and like make these amazing big things that people get to see and experience. We get to be part of cultural shifts in our society. And it's just amazing. And I think sometimes we forget to enjoy the process. We forget, that we actually love doing this because we kind of get stuck in like the output or the success. But just don't forget that we are living the dream, savor the journey, enjoy the process, and find ways that you can do that. Find ways to build that in.
I always feel like as an adult, I feel so lucky that I love making and I love art because I've watched, when we're younger, I feel like there's so many interests we have. And all my friends, everyone had interests, whether it was like sports in high school or university. You're just active in the world. And then I think as you get older, the world gets a little smaller because you don't have as much time and work takes up so much of that. And I've watched my friends, I call non-artists the muggles. And sometimes I see them, I feel frustrated sometimes that I feel so packed. It's like I never really have a break because I could always be making art. I could always be thinking of the next idea. And sometimes I watch friends that the muggles go on vacation and I think, if I had been on vacation, I would have been like trying to draw and trying to do all like I would have packed in all this crap and like pressure on myself, right? But I have also watched friends that, don't really have things to do with their like, they don't have the hobby anymore, and so you can get a little lost. And I feel like our art is always our compass, and I try to remember that when I feel like I just want to go on a vacation and sit there and not think about anything. And I'm always thinking about things, so enjoy it. Enjoy it.
Yes.
And thank you all so much for being here, allowing us to share these things. We love talking about these topics and sharing them with you. Remember, as a working artist, we want to keep learning. We want to network, manage our time, care for our mental health, and always be enjoying the process as we go.
Yes. So you can head to thrivetogethernetwork.com to get more episodes, to sign up to join our thriving community of artists. We would love to connect with you. And as always, Jamie and I are here for you. We're cheering you on. And we really believe in the work you're doing as thriving artists. Thanks for listening.